The wind, a relentless sculptor, carves cold air around the skeletal frame of the International Bridge Toll Plaza at night. You stand at the edge, a silent sentinel, the rhythmic clack of plastic cards against glass, the low thrum of idling engines, a dull percussion against the vast, dark canvas of the sky. Each passing vehicle, a brief flash of light, illuminates the dust motes dancing in the frigid air, then plunges you back into the muted glow of the sodium lamps. The metallic tang of exhaust fumes clings to your coat, a familiar, unwelcome perfume. Your gaze drifts across the expanse of the water, a black mirror reflecting the scattered diamonds of distant city lights. Here, between borders, between worlds, you find a certain solace in the liminal space. It mirrors your own existence, adrift since the badge was surrendered, the name Marcus Thorne reduced to a whispered cautionary tale among the old guard. A phantom weight rests on your hip, the ghost of a holster, a constant reminder of what you once were, what you failed to be. You trace the scar above your left eyebrow, a relic of a forgotten skirmish, yet the deeper wounds are etched within, invisible and unhealing. The journalist. The name, unspoken, echoes in the cavern of your mind, a singular, piercing note in the symphony of your regrets. A random act, they'd called it. You knew better, even then. You'd felt the unseen threads, the puppet masters pulling. But without proof, without allies, your frantic pursuit had been dismissed, then condemned, twisted into the very reason for your downfall. A sudden, unexpected interruption tears through your reverie. Its engine idles with a sophisticated hush, a stark contrast to the utilitarian roar of the trucks that usually dominate this stretch. The driver's side window descends with a nearly imperceptible whir silhouetted against the dim interior, leans slightly forward. You recognize the profile, the sharp, almost predatory set of the jaw, even after all these years. It is an old colleague, a man whose ambition had always been a sharp blade, cutting through allegiances and sentiment alike. He was one of the few who still held a position of influence, though his path had diverged sharply from yours. Marcus Thorne. His voice cuts through the wind, a low rumble that carries an undertone of practiced authority. Still chasing ghosts at the edge of the world? You don't reply immediately. Your hands, buried deep in your pockets, clench. He offers a faint, humorless smile. Always direct, Marcus. Some things never change. You were always too direct for your own good, weren't you? He pauses, letting the barb hang. I have an offer. An opportunity, perhaps. You scoff, a dry, bitter sound. Opportunities stopped coming my way the moment my name became mud. And yours, I imagine, only ever involve a steep price. This one, he says, his gaze unwavering, comes with a chance at something you lost. Something you've been searching for, even out here. He shifts, leaning further, his eyes catching the light from the toll plaza, glinting with a shrewd intensity. The journalist's case. It's resurfaced. New information has come to light. The words hit you like a physical blow, a sudden, sharp intake of breath. The cold air feels like shards in your lungs. Resurfaced. It's a word you hadn't dared to hope for, a forgotten key to a locked chamber in your soul. What kind of information, you demand, stepping closer, the isolation of moments ago dissolving into a sudden, potent focus. The phantom weight on your hip feels less like a ghost, more like a pulse. Information that links his death to a larger scheme, the colleague replies, his voice dropping, one that reaches into the highest echelons. A prominent politician's presidential campaign. They want you back on it, Marcus. You stare at him, disbelief warring with a fierce, rekindled spark of determination. They? Who are they? Those who believe in justice, Marcus. Those who know you were right all along. And those who need someone outside the system, someone with nothing left to lose, to truly dig. He gestures vaguely toward the city lights. This isn't about clearing your name, not directly. It's about uncovering a truth that threatens to unravel everything. And you, Marcus Thorne, are the only one who ever truly understood the threads of that particular tapestry. 1,000 questions scream in your mind, but one rises above the din. Why now? His past is about to become your present. And your future, if you choose to step back into the light. He pauses, letting the weight of his words settle. It's a chance to finish what you started, Marcus. A chance at redemption, perhaps. What do you say? The wind whips around you, carrying the distant wail of a siren, a mournful sound that seems to underscore the gravity of the moment. You look back at the dark water, then at the colleague's expectant face. The taste of betrayal, of failure, still lingers on your tongue, but beneath it, a new flavor begins to emerge, the bitter, intoxicating tang of purpose. And this time, you feel a flicker of the old fire, a readiness to confront not just the powerful enemies, but the agonizing truth that lies at the heart of your downfall. The wind, a cold, insistent hand, tugs at your collar, mirroring the turbulence within. This isn't a request, Thorne, the colleague's voice, flat and devoid of warmth, cuts through the night air. It's a lifeline or a noose. The old files. Everything we have. Everything you had. Your jaw tightens. The implication hangs heavy. Your past mistakes, your downfall, are inseparable from this offer. Redemption, if it exists, will be carved from the very stone that crushed you. You hesitate, the satchel feeling like a leaden burden, yet a spark ignites deep within you. Not hope, not yet. A hunger for answers that has gnawed at you for years, a ghost in your periphery. You take the satchel. The leather is cool against your palm, the buckles groaning faintly as you grasp it. What's the catch, you ask, your voice a rasp against the wind. The colleague's lips curl into a humorless smile. The catch is you, Marcus. And the mess you left behind. This journalist. Elena Vance. Her ghost has a way of haunting the inconvenient. He steps closer, his voice dropping, a low current beneath the bridge's hum. The official line stands, random act. They've grown louder. Too loud for the coming election cycle. You need a path back. He gestures vaguely towards the distant city lights, a tapestry of shimmering gold and silver. Don't make us regret this. The satchel feels heavy, not just with paper, but with the weight of expectation, of a past you thought buried, now stirring to life. You drive, the satchel resting on the passenger seat like an unwelcome companion. The single lamp on your desk casts a weak circle of light, illuminating the stacks of takeout menus and forgotten reports. You clear a space, pushing aside the detritus of your solitude, and dump the contents of the satchel onto the scarred wooden surface. A cascade of yellowed documents, flimsy photographs, and a thick, spiral-bound notebook tumbles out. The scent of old paper, of stale coffee, and something faintly metallic, the smell of forgotten evidence, fills the air. You pick up the notebook first. Elena Vance. Her elegant script fills the pages, tight and precise, a testament to her meticulous nature. Dates, names, cryptic notes. The case file itself, bound in a faded manila folder, is surprisingly thin for a murder investigation. Random act of violence, the summary states in bold, official lettering. Your stomach clenches. You begin to read, methodically, page by page. The initial police report, the witness statements, sparse and contradictory. The forensic report, equally inconclusive. No clear motive, no weapon found, no discernible pattern. It was a dead end, a case that simply withered and died in your hands, along with your career. You remember the frustration, the gnawing certainty that something was wrong, that a piece was missing, but you couldn't articulate it, couldn't prove it. Your eyes scan Elena's notebook. Her early entries detail investigations into local corruption, a series of land deals involving city council members. Standard fare for an investigative journalist. Then, the tone shifts. Her notes become more guarded, less direct. Phrases like shell corporations, offshore accounts, and then, a name, scrawled almost illegibly, Senator Caldwell. Senator Caldwell. The name hits you with the force of a physical blow. You trace the letters with your finger, a tremor running through you. Elena Vance, the brilliant journalist whose murder was dismissed as random, was investigating him. Years ago. You flip back through the official case file, then to Elena's notebook again. A date catches your eye, circled multiple times in her distinct handwriting, October 17th. Underneath it, a single, underlined word, summit. You remember the summit. Not a public event, but a private gathering of influential figures, hosted by Caldwell's Foundation, just weeks before Elena's death. At the time, it seemed irrelevant, a coincidence. Now, it screams. You pull out a current news report from a digital tablet, its screen glowing starkly in the dim light. A headline blares, Caldwell campaign announces major funding boost from the Vanguard Collective. The Vanguard Collective. The name is new, but the timing is not. Your fingers tremble as you cross-reference Elena's notes with the current political landscape. Her last few entries, before the notebook abruptly ends, are filled with fragmented names and dates, some of which now resonate with current campaign staff, with recent financial disclosures. The pieces, once scattered and meaningless, are beginning to align, forming a grotesque mosaic. The journalist wasn't just investigating a senator. He was peeling back the layers of something far larger, far more insidious. Her death wasn't random, it was a deliberate act of silencing. And the random act dismissal? A convenient cover-up, orchestrated by forces powerful enough to manipulate an entire investigation, to bury the truth for years. This isn't just about redemption. This is about justice for Elena Vance. You stare at the scattered papers, at the name Caldwell and the words, the Vanguard Collective, feeling the first tendrils of a conspiracy begin to coil around you. The game, Marcus, has just begun. Elena Van. The journalist. The cold case that ripped the badge from your belt, now resurrected with a political titan's shadow draped over it. This is not just a ghost from the past, it is a live wire, humming with forgotten currents. You leave the apartment's stale air behind, the city a blur of smudged neon and hurried headlights. The plaza, when you arrive, is a skeletal structure against the bruised velvet sky. The relentless wind off the water whips at your coat, a mournful lament. Only a few lanes are active, their green lights a stark contrast to the surrounding gloom, funneling the sparse late-night traffic across the border. You remember the precise spot. The third lane from the left, where Elena Van's vehicle had been found, her life extinguished with a brutal finality. The concrete beneath your worn shoes feels the same, rough and indifferent. You walk slowly, your gaze sweeping over the scene, trying to strip away the layers of time, to see it as it was then. The forensic markers, the police tape, the flashing blue lights, all gone, yet their impressions linger, invisible imprints on the very fabric of the place. You crouch near the curb, where the original reports noted a struggle. Nothing. The area has been scrubbed clean by time and weather. But something gnaws at you, a fragment of an old detail, something overlooked in the initial chaos. Elena Van, meticulous to a fault, a journalist who saw patterns where others saw only noise. You stand, turning your back to the wind, letting your eyes drift along the underside of the concrete canopy that shelters the toll booths. A flicker. Not a light, but a shape. There. Wedged tightly, almost as if placed with deliberate care, is a crumpled piece of paper. It falls into your palm, light as a fallen leaf. It's a torn fragment from a newspaper, yellowed and brittle. It's crude, hastily drawn, but distinct. This was no random act. Elena left a message. A clue. The wind seems to howl louder now, carrying a fresh urgency. You tuck the paper carefully into your jacket pocket. You need answers, and the first place to look is always the source. Your next stop is a dimly lit dive bar, its air thick with stale beer and regret, a haunt for former colleagues and informants. You order a whiskey, neat. You're back, the bartender grunts, his voice raspy. Thought you were gone for good, Thorne. Some things don't stay buried, you reply, your gaze steady. I'm looking for a colleague. Detective Miller. He's still around? The bartender slowly wipes down the counter, his movements deliberate. Miller retired. Moved south. Depends on what you're asking about. You push a 20 across the counter. I'm asking about Elena Van. And Caldwell. The bartender's hand stills. His jaw tightens. That's a bad combination of names, Thorne. A real bad one. Some stories, they're best left untold. Especially when the people in them got long arms. He glances around the near-empty bar, then leans closer, his voice dropping to a low growl. You start digging there, Marcus. You ain't just gonna hit dirt. You're gonna hit rock. And rock hits back harder than it looks. The message is clear, the threat veiled but unmistakable. Powerful forces, indeed. The game has begun, and you are already a target. The chilling certainty solidifies, a cold stone settling in the pit of your stomach. The cryptic word, the numbers whispered by the stranger, they echo in the quiet of your makeshift workspace, a cramped corner of an abandoned factory floor you've borrowed from an old acquaintance, its vast, empty space amplifying every rustle of paper. You lean into the harsh glow of the desk lamp, its single bulb carving a stark circle of light in the industrial gloom. Spread before you are the remnants of Elena's lifework, a scattered constellation of notes, printouts, and digital files displayed on a battered laptop. Her meticulous hand, once so vibrant and sure, now a ghost guiding your gaze. You search for the cryptic word, a name, a code. It comes to you not as a single entity, but as a recurring whisper across multiple documents, an acronym ADARI.G.I.S. Repeatedly, it appears next to financial ledgers, land deeds, and campaign donation records. Not a simple shell company, you realize, but a sprawling, hydra-headed entity. Your fingers, stiff from hours of sifting, trace the connections. AEGIS, a corporate behemoth, seemingly innocuous, with subsidiaries in everything from infrastructure to data management. Its name surfaces repeatedly in connection with the campaign finance reports of the prominent politician, the candidate whose presidential ambitions now loom large on every news cycle. Large, anonymous donations flowing through layered holding companies, all leading back to AEGIS. A pattern emerges, stark and undeniable. The numbers the stranger murmured, a date, a time, a specific account code. You cross-reference them with Elena's financial analysis. A specific transaction, a massive transfer of funds, dated just weeks before her murder, from an AEGIS subsidiary to an offshore account linked to the candidate's campaign. It's too precise, too deliberate to be coincidence. Elena had found the nerve center, the conduit. He had proof. The politician is merely a figurehead, a public face for AEGIS's grander design. The air thickens, heavy with the weight of your discovery. A sudden, sharp crack from the factory's upper rafters makes you flinch, your hand instinctively reaching for the worn grip of the pistol tucked beneath your jacket. No one. Just the wind, perhaps, or the old building settling. Yet, the unease persists, a prickling sensation on your skin. You are no longer merely digging. You are being watched. You pack your meager findings, the laptop, a few key documents, the feeling of eyes on your back intensifying with every movement. The factory, once a sanctuary of solitude, now feels like a trap. You need to move, to think, to put distance between your newfound knowledge and the unseen forces that undoubtedly seek to suppress it. Your old sedan, a faithful companion through your disgraced years, rumbles with a familiar tremor. The tension coils tighter with each mile. You steer your car into a lane, the red glow of brake lights ahead creating a fragmented, pulsing rhythm. Suddenly, the world tilts. A black SUV, its windows tinted opaque, swerves violently from the adjacent lane. It clips the rear quarter panel of your sedan with a sickening crunch, sending a jolt through your frame. The impact isn't enough to disable you, but it's a clear message. The SUV doesn't stop. It accelerates, pulling ahead, then swerves again, attempting to box you in against the concrete barrier of the plaza. Your reflexes, honed by years of living on the edge, scream into action. You yank the wheel hard, stomping on the accelerator, forcing your sedan into the narrow gap between the SUV and the car ahead, a space that shouldn't exist. Tires shriek against asphalt. Metal scrapes metal again, a shower of sparks briefly illuminating the night. You hear the panicked blare of horns from other drivers, their faces flashes of stunned disbelief. You burst through the toll gate, ignoring the payment, the attendants shout fading behind you. The SUV, momentarily stalled by the chaos it created, is now several car lengths back. You weave through the exiting traffic, pushing the old sedan to its limits, the taste of adrenaline sharp on your tongue. They weren't just trying to intimidate, they were trying to run you off the road, to make it look like an accident, a tragic end for a disgraced former detective. You have indeed struck a nerve. The forces behind AEGIS are real, ruthless, and they know you're digging. The candidate, the corporation, Elena's research, it's all connected. The fight has just begun. The air, crisp with the distant scent of river water and exhaust fumes, brushes against your face, a cold caress against the determination etched into your jawline. Headlights streak past, red taillights recede into the inky expanse beyond the border, each vehicle a fleeting shadow against the backdrop of an endless night. You stand amidst the muted chaos, the low thrum of engines and the occasional clang of coins against metal a steady rhythm to your own thrumming pulse. The phrase, Gate 3, under the old light, was a ghost on her torn notepad, barely legible, yet undeniably present. You remember the way the light catches the condensation on the booth windows, the pattern of wear on the painted lines, the subtle tilt of a security camera that has likely been upgraded a dozen times since Elena Van's last breath. This isn't just a location, it's a stage where a crucial, silent act was performed. Your gaze locks onto the base of the old light pole beside Toll Booth 3. It's an older model, its bulb caged in a rusty metal grid, distinct from the newer, brighter fixtures. Beneath it, nestled in a narrow gap where the concrete curb meets the asphalt, you spot it, a small, weathered plastic container, almost camouflaged by grime and fallen leaves. It's too deliberate, too hidden, to be random refuse. A prickle of unease crawls up your spine. This is it. This is where Elena left her last breadcrumb, or perhaps where she expected to receive one. Your fingers, calloused and steady, pry the container open. Inside, tucked beneath a layer of damp tissue, are two items. The first is a miniature USB drive, its metal casing dulled by time and exposure. It promises data, secrets, a digital key to Elena's final revelations. But it's the second item that truly arrests you, freezing the breath in your lungs. One side depicts the old city crest, faded but recognizable, a lion rampant against a shield. The other side, however, is what steals the air from your chest. It bears the stylized emblem of your former precinct, a design you helped commission years ago. And beneath it, etched with delicate precision, are the initials, JM. A name crashes into your mind, unbidden and unwelcome. JM. Jasper Miles. A young patrol officer you took under your wing during your early days, fresh-faced and eager, brimming with an idealism you once shared. You remembered giving him that very coin, a gesture of mentorship, a quiet acknowledgement of his potential, a reminder of the code you both swore to uphold. He was one of the first responders to Elena Van's murder scene, a junior officer whose initial report you had personally reviewed, whose eyewitness account had formed a foundational brick in the dead-end wall of the original investigation. The coin feels impossibly heavy now, a leaden weight in your hand, not just metal, but a concentrated mass of memory and bitter truth. Jasper. He'd been so earnest, so dedicated. You'd trusted his observations, his judgment, the integrity of his statements. He was a good man, a loyal man. Or so you believed. Why would Elena Van have this coin? Why would it be here, at a dead drop she designated? The only logical explanation, the one that twists a knife in the remnants of your professional pride, is that Jasper Miles was her contact. And if he was her contact, what did he know? And more agonizingly, what did he not tell you, his mentor, during the original investigation? The pieces click into place with a sickening finality. Jasper's initial report had been meticulous, almost too perfect, devoid of any hint of the deeper conspiracy Elena was uncovering. He had been so quick to dismiss certain anomalies, so eager to align with the official narrative. At the time, you attributed it to his inexperience, his deference to senior officers. Now, a more sinister interpretation blossoms, thorny and toxic.
He hadn't been inexperienced, he'd been complicit.
Someone you trusted, someone you guided, someone whose career you helped shape, had either deliberately misled Elena, or worse, fed her just enough information to lead her into a trap, all while withholding crucial truths from you. The foundation of the old case crumbles, revealing a rot that extends deeper than you ever imagined, reaching into the very core of your past failures. The metallic taste of betrayal coats your tongue, sharp and acrid. Your own judgment, the very compass of your investigative spirit, feels compromised, tainted. It's here, woven into the fabric of your own history, a betrayal perpetrated by a ghost from your past, one you had long considered a friend, a protégé.
And for a moment, the weight of that realization is almost enough to buckle your knees.
The game has changed. The ghost of Jasper Miles, a name etched into your conscience, pricks at your waking thoughts. The cold weight of the coin, that shared token of idealism, presses against your palm even now, a phantom presence. You see his face, young and earnest, before the world had begun its slow, deliberate work of grinding him down.
A quiet acknowledgement, you'd called it.
The city exhales a metallic sigh as you drive, the hum of tires a low thrum beneath your worn shoes. The air thickens with the promise of rain as you approach the designated coordinates, a place whispered to you through an anonymous digital channel. Your knuckles are white on the steering wheel, the leather cool beneath your grip. Sodium lamps cast a sickly yellow glow, painting the concrete and steel in stark, unforgiving lines. You pull into a dimly lit lane, the automatic barrier a silent sentinel. The attendant in the booth, a figure shrouded in shadow and the glare of a monitor, barely glances your way as you pass through. Your gaze sweeps the desolate expanse, the few other vehicles like scattered beetles. You recognize the beat-up sedan parked beneath a flickering halogen lamp near the far end of the plaza, just past the customs checkpoints.
This is it. This is where the threads of JM's last days might finally begin to unravel. Your pulse quickens, a muted drum against your ribs. The wind picks up, whistling through the bridge's cables, a mournful song that seems to carry the weight of all unspoken truths. A figure emerges from the sedan, hunched and wary, their collar pulled high. Not the person you expected, but a known street contact, someone JM had once offered a lifeline. Their eyes, when they meet yours across the rain-slicked asphalt, are wide with a fear that tastes like ozone. Every instinct screams caution, but JM's ghost walks beside you, pushing you forward. The contact fumbles inside their coat, their movements jerky, almost frantic. Their breath plumes in the frigid air as they extend a small, worn leather pouch. He said if anything happened, give this to you. Said it was for the truth. His truth. You take the pouch. It's light, almost insignificant. You retreat to your vehicle, the pouch of burning coal in your grip. Inside, nestled amongst a few loose change coins, is a micro SD card, no larger than your thumbnail. Your fingers, surprisingly steady, slide the tiny card into the slot of your old, government-issued reader, a relic you've kept despite your disgrace. The screen flickers to life, the familiar interface a comforting anachronism. A single, encrypted file appears, labeled simply Veritas. Truth. The decryption process is agonizingly slow, each percentage point a tick of a time bomb. Then, the file opens. Not a confession, but something far more damning. The first document is a ledger, meticulously detailing campaign donations, but with an anomaly,
A series of untraceable transactions routed through a shell corporation you vaguely remember from the journalist's initial inquiries. The second document is a highly confidential memo, dated days before the journalist's murder. It outlines a containment strategy for a problematic information leak threatening political stability. The language is coded, clinical, yet terrifyingly clear. The last document, a grainy photograph of a handwritten note, is the final, brutal blow. Make it look random. No loose ends. And below, a postscript in a different hand, a familiar, elegant flourish of the future of the nation depends on it. Politician's initials. The air leaves your lungs in a rush. The pieces click into place with the sickening precision of a trap closing. JM had been digging, too, following the same thread, and it had cost him everything. This isn't just about redemption anymore, it's about justice, about the truth JM died to protect. The magnitude of the conspiracy is immense, the players powerful beyond measure. You are alone, disgraced, facing an enemy that can manipulate the very fabric of society. The personal cost will be immense, perhaps insurmountable, but the path ahead is clear, unforgiving, and undeniably yours. You will see this through, to the bitter end. The air leaves your lungs in a rush. The prominent politician, the shadowy organization, the obsidian hand, the journalist's murder, it's all connected, a monstrous web spun from ambition and power. JM had been digging, too close, too deep, and now you stand on the precipice of the same abyss. A tremor runs through the floorboards of the abandoned apartment you've claimed as a temporary sanctuary. They know. The thought forms a lead weight in your gut. Your progress, your inquiries, your very existence, has become a threat they can no longer ignore. You move with the predatory grace of a cornered animal, gathering the few precious items scattered on the stained floorboards, JM's meticulously coded journal. Now a Rosetta Stone for the conspiracy, a crumpled map marked with your own hasty annotations, the worn leather wallet containing a handful of bills and a single faded photograph of a face you rarely let yourself remember. The world outside, once merely indifferent, now bristles with unseen eyes. The city's labyrinthine streets become a blur of motion, a desperate ballet of evasive turns and sudden accelerations. You push the borrowed sedan, a nondescript vehicle acquired through an old contact, past its limits, weaving through the late-night traffic like a ghost. Headlights glare in your rearview mirror, persistent, too close, not flashing blue, but bearing an ominous, low-slung menace. It's a gamble, a bottleneck, a choke point between worlds, but it also represents the only immediate exit, a chance to cross a border, to buy time, to breathe. The thought of escape mingles with a desperate need to understand JM's final movements, his last, desperate attempt to expose the truth. He had scrawled a cryptic note about a gateway in his journal, a word that now echoes with unsettling clarity. The city gives way to the arterial roads leading to the border. A line of vehicles idles, their exhaust plumes dissolving into the cold air. You slow your approach, merging with the stream of cars. There, near the last booth on your side, where the concrete barrier juts out before the bridge proper, you see it. A symbol, spray-painted in a faded red, almost invisible against the grime, a stylized O with 3 radiating lines, faint but unmistakable. The mark of the obsidian hand. It's crude, hidden, but undeniably present. As your vehicle inches closer to the booth, a sudden, jarring movement in your rearview mirror sends a shockwave through you. Its headlights blaze, blinding you momentarily. No words are spoken. A hand emerges, flashing a glint of metal, not an official badge. A bespoke, silver emblem, the same with radiating lines, smaller, sharper, cruelly polished. Marcus Thorne, a voice, devoid of inflection, cuts through the hum of engines. Step out of the vehicle. Surrender is not an option. Not now. Not when the pieces are finally coalescing. Your foot slams down on the accelerator. The engine roars, protesting, as you lurch forward, swerving sharply to the left. The front bumper screeches against the concrete barrier, a shower of sparks erupting in your wake. The toll attendant, a young man with a tired face, recoils in startled horror as you blast through the flimsy plastic arm of the booth, sending it spinning into the night. Other vehicles scatter, their drivers honking in confusion and alarm. Sirens, guttural and piercing, now erupt behind you, not the familiar wail of law enforcement, but a harsher, more menacing tone, amplified by the enclosed space of the bridge. These are their sirens. Your gaze flickers to JM's journal, lying open on the passenger seat, pages fluttering in the sudden rush of air from the shattered window. Amidst the dense script and cryptic symbols, a specific entry stands out, circled repeatedly, a date, tonight's date, and a time that is barely an hour from now. It's a rendezvous. A transaction. The obsidian hand isn't just hunting you, they are here, now, making their move. You are not merely a fugitive, you are an unwitting participant, hurtling towards a confrontation that will either unravel the conspiracy or consume you whole. You are now here, at the precipice, the hum of distant engines a low thrum against the night's vast quiet. The air bites with a metallic chill, carrying the scent of exhaust fumes and the faint, briny tang of the river below. Your breath plumes in the frigid air as you observe from the shadowed alcove of a disused maintenance booth. The plaza is quiet, too quiet, for this hour. A single commercial truck idles near the customs checkpoint, its hazard lights blinking a slow, hypnotic rhythm. It pulls abreast of the truck, but not too close. The driver, a figure shrouded in an expensive coat, steps out, a slim attaché case held loosely in one hand. No words are exchanged, only a swift, practiced movement. The case passes hands. A jolt of recognition, sharp as a sudden electric current, shoots through you. This isn't just a transaction, it's the transaction. The journalist wasn't just investigating a murder, he was attempting to intercept something crucial, something happening on this very bridge, tonight. And now, you are watching it unfold. This is your moment. You push off the cold metal of the booth, your movements economical, born of years spent stalking shadows. The sedan's engine purrs to life, the truck's diesel growl following suit. You have mere seconds. As the sedan begins to roll, you dart from cover, a phantom in the periphery. A quick, practiced motion, honed by countless training exercises and street brawls, and your hand is on the door handle. The driver, startled, whips his head around, his eyes wide with a sudden, primal fear. Before he can react, you yank the door open, the interior light illuminating his pale, startled face. He fumbles for something beneath the seat, but you are faster. He scrambles, tripping over his own feet, a man unaccustomed to such raw, unvarnished confrontation. You retrieve the case, the weight of it suddenly heavy in your grasp, then slam the door shut. They will be reporting this. The trap is sprung. You click open the latches of the attaché case. Inside, nestled amongst layers of foam, is not money, not drugs, but a single, sleek data chip and a thin, bound ledger. the chip gleams under the weak light, a tiny vessel of immense power.
Your fingers, steady despite the adrenaline coursing through you, insert the chip into the encrypted reader you carry.
The screen flickers to life, lines of code scrolling, then settling on a single, devastating file. It's a financial ledger, meticulously detailed, outlining illicit campaign contributions, shell corporations, and offshore accounts.
Encrypted correspondence. Dates and times.
A direct order, signed with an initial you now recognize as belonging to the politician himself, authorizing containment of an unstable element, the journalist.
It wasn't random.
It was sanctioned.
It was executed.
The ledger provides the names of the intermediaries, the enforcers, the very individuals who carried out the act. And then, a final, damning piece, a copy of a signed confession, extracted under duress, from a junior operative of the Obsidian Hand, detailing the entire operation, the politician's direct involvement, and the cover-up that followed. A complete, undeniable narrative of deceit, murder, and political corruption reaching the highest echelons.
The journalist's instinct was terrifyingly accurate.
He had stumbled onto the truth, and it cost him everything. You close the attaché case, the weight of its contents now monumental. This evidence, in the right hands, could bring down an empire. But first, it must survive. And so must you. The figures who just fled will be reporting your presence, your acquisition.
They know what you have.
The mastermind, the architect of this intricate web, will be notified.
He won't send subordinates this time.
He will come for you himself, or send his most lethal assets.
There's only one move left.
You need to draw him out, force his hand, make him step into the light he so desperately avoids. You compose a message, short and precise, to an anonymous contact, a thread you've been cultivating for weeks, a lifeline to the outside.
I have it all.
The ledger, the orders, the confession.
Meet me at the old abandoned factory on the waterfront. Midnight. Alone. If I'm not there, release everything. You send it. The digital echo of your defiance hangs in the cold air. You know this is a trap, a fatal lure. But you also know it's the only way. To expose the truth, you must become the bait. You are walking into the lion's den, but this time, you carry the fire. The game is no longer about survival, it's about justice. And the final pieces are in your hands. The cold air bites, a metallic tang on your tongue, as you guide the vehicle towards the designated rendezvous. The hum of the engine feels like a hungry beast beneath your hands, a counterpoint to the frantic drumbeat against your ribs. You are Marcus Thorne, and you are walking into the maw.
Headlights glare, painting the wet asphalt in streaks of silver, each beam a probing eye. The steady whoosh of passing traffic, the distant groan of a freighter on the water below, compose a symphony of deceit. The toll booths stand vacant, their windows dark, like eyeless sentinels. A shiver, not entirely from the biting wind, traces its way down your spine. You killed the engine. Silence descends, thick and sudden, broken only by the shush of the wind and the distant city's thrum. Your breath plumes white in the frigid air. The digital echo of your defiance still resonates within you, a silent promise of the fire you carry.
Then, the movement. Doors open with a soft click, and figures emerge, cloaked in the dim light. The enforcers.
From the lead sedan, a taller figure steps out, his silhouette framed by the bridge's skeletal structure.
The politician.
His presence, even at this distance, radiates an icy authority and unyielding power.
He walks towards your vehicle, slow and deliberate, a predator surveying its trapped prey.
His face, when he stops before your window, is a mask of calculated calm, etched with the faint lines of ambition. You meet his gaze, unflinching.
You came, you state, your voice steady despite the tremor in your hands.
Of course, the politician replies, his voice a low, resonant murmur, barely rising above the wind.
You cast your line, Marcus Thorne. I merely chose to bite.
A slight smile plays on his lips, devoid of warmth.
Though I confess, I'm surprised. I thought you learned your lesson, years ago.
Some lessons need to be retaught, you counter, the memory of the journalist's lifeless eyes flashing in your mind. Especially when the original instructor tried to bury the truth.
Truth is a malleable concept, Marcus.
A small data chip, the one you painstakingly recovered from the journalist's hidden cache.
This isn't my version.
This is his.
The journalist's final words.
A random act of violence. No, you state, the word cutting through the night like a blade. It was murder.
Ordered by you, executed by your enforcers, because he was close.
He found the ledgers, the offshore accounts, the names of the judges, the commissioners, the very people you've been manipulating for decades to build your empire. One of the enforcers shifts, a subtle movement, but you catch it.
You know their intent.
You grip the chip tighter. He knew about the election fraud, the rigged contracts, the way you siphon public funds into your private coffers.
All under the guise of progress.
The bridge project itself, the one we're standing on, was just another conduit for your illicit gains.
The politician's eyes narrow.
A certainty that cost you your badge once before. And it's a certainty born from the pieces you left behind, you retort, your voice gaining strength. The loose ends from that night, the random act that didn't add up. The missing camera, the altered crime scene report. The way the investigation was abruptly shut down, and I was scapegoated, my career shredded.
You didn't just want the journalist dead, you wanted his legacy erased, and anyone who dared to question it destroyed. You gesture to the chip. This contains it all.
His encrypted files, a detailed timeline of your organization's operations, the names of your key operatives, and the direct orders linking you to his death. He even had a dead man's switch. If I don't check in by a certain time, this data, along with a full confession from a disgruntled former associate of yours, goes public.
To every major news outlet, every investigative journalist who remembers his name. A low growl emanates from one of the enforcers, a guttural sound of frustration. The politician raises a hand, silencing him. His gaze bores into yours, a desperate calculation in his eyes. You overestimate your leverage, Marcus.
This dead man's switch could be a bluff. And even if it isn't, dead men tell no tales.
He uncovered your current plans, didn't he?
The grand scheme to consolidate power, to control not just this city, but the entire nation. He found the proof that your campaign is funded by the very criminal enterprises you claim to fight. You see it then, a fleeting crack in his carefully constructed composure. Lived your quiet, disgraced life, and let the truth remain buried? You shake your head. That's not how justice works. He died fighting for it. And now, so will I, if that's what it takes. A glint of metallic reflection catches your eye. The politician watches, his expression unreadable, a silent command passing between them. This is your last chance, Marcus, the politician warns, his voice soft, almost a caress. Hand over the device. Walk away. We can forget this ever happened. You look at the gun, then back at the politician's impassive face. It's about revelation. The enforcer takes a step forward, the handgun now fully visible, aimed squarely at your chest. The politician's eyes, devoid of mercy, hold yours. The sharp crack of the gunshot splinters the night, not in your flesh, but against the reinforced concrete barrier beside you, a violent bloom of dust and shattered aggregate. Your ears ring with the report, a sudden, brutal percussion that momentarily steals the world's breath. Instinct, sharp and honed by years of shadowed streets, takes hold. Another shot follows, tearing through the air where your head had been moments before. But the politician, his face a mask of primal fear, does not wait. He turns, a panicked scramble, towards the idling sedan parked just beyond the last toll booth. The vehicle's engine hums a low, predatory note, a promise of escape. You push off the ground, a low crouch, your own hand instinctively going to the empty space where your service weapon once rested. No badge, no gun, only the raw, desperate need for justice. The enforcer is between you and the fleeing politician, a formidable wall of muscle and malice. He pivots, his eyes finding you in the gloom, and raises his handgun for a third, definitive shot. But then, a different sound slices through the tension, the distant, growing wail of sirens, a rising chorus of law enforcement. They are closer than expected, a calculated risk on your part, now a thundering promise of intervention. The enforcer hesitates, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his hardened features. It is all you need. You launch yourself forward, not towards the weapon, but at his body, aiming for the center mass, a desperate tackle. The impact is jarring, a brutal collision of bone and sinew. You hit the pavement together, a tangle of limbs and grunts. You grapple, the enforcer's strength immense, his desperation palpable. A knee connects with your ribs, sending a searing jolt of pain through you, but you cling on, your fingers finding purchase on his collar, then his wrist. You twist, employing a move learned long ago in the academy, a swift, brutal maneuver that forces his arm back at an unnatural angle. A choked cry escapes him, a sound of surprise more than pain, as you pin him, one hand pressing into his throat, the other twisting his arm. From his inner jacket pocket, something small and metallic clatters onto the ground, bouncing once before coming to rest near your gaze. It's a USB drive, sleek and black, almost invisible in the dim light. This isn't just a thug, he's a courier, a holder of secrets. Patrol vehicles screech to a halt, doors flying open. Uniformed officers spill out, weapons drawn, their shouted commands echoing in the sudden, overwhelming brightness. Freeze. Hands where I can see them. You release the enforcer, rolling away as officers swarm. He's quickly subdued, hands cuffed behind his back, his defiant glare now laced with a bitter resignation. Your gaze, however, is fixed on the politician. He's been cornered by two officers near the sedan, his attempted escape thwarted. His face, illuminated by the flashing lights, is no longer fearful, but utterly broken, the mask of power irrevocably shattered. He looks at you, Marcus Thorne, a man he thought he'd crushed, and there is a dawning horror in his eyes, the realization of his downfall. You push yourself to a sitting position, your body aching, every muscle screaming in protest. Your eyes scan the scene, taking in the chaos, the controlled pandemonium. The lead detective, a familiar face from your past, approaches, his expression a complex mix of surprise, relief, and grudging respect. He offers a hand, pulling you to your feet. Thorne, you always did know how to make an entrance. His voice is gruff, but there's an undeniable warmth beneath it. What's this? He asks, his gaze falling on the small USB drive you've instinctively picked up, your fingers tracing its smooth surface. Evidence, you rasp, your voice hoarse. Everything. The journalist, the cover-up, the architect of it all. You hand it over, a profound sense of exhaustion washing over you. An adrenaline crash that threatens to buckle your knees. It will link him, you nod towards the politician, now being led away in cuffs. His once impeccable suit disheveled, directly to the murder. Not just the silencing, but the order. The detective's eyes widen as he takes the drive. You're sure? I am, you affirm, the words a heavy stone in your throat. He paid for it. Arranged it. The journalist knew too much, and he feared her exposure more than he feared justice. As the scene is secured, forensic teams begin their meticulous work. You watch the politician being loaded into a patrol car, his head bowed, his once lofty aspirations reduced to the ignominy of arrest. A faint tremor runs through you, a delayed reaction to the violence, the confrontation, the sheer weight of it all. The years of disgrace, the loss of your badge, the gnawing regret, they don't simply vanish with the politician's capture. You stand alone for a moment, the cold wind whipping around you, carrying the distant murmur of the city. The burden of proof has been lifted, but the burden of living with the truth, that is a weight you will carry alone. Red and blue strobes from emergency vehicles painted the slick tarmac, a frantic, silent ballet of light, reflecting in the puddles left by a recent, brief shower. The hum of generators powering temporary floodlights cut through the chill, a persistent drone that settled deep within your chest. You stood by a concrete barrier, the wind whipping at your coat, watching the orchestrated chaos. Forensic teams moved with quiet precision, their flashlights dancing over the scene, while beyond the secured perimeter, news vans, their dishes like hungry, metallic flowers, angled towards the unfolding drama. The weight you had carried for so long, a leaden anchor tethering you to a past failure, felt different now. Lighter, perhaps, though not entirely gone. The journalist's ghost, once a constant, accusatory presence, now felt less like a haunting and more like a quiet witness, finally at peace. You traced the scar on your knuckles, a phantom ache from a struggle that felt both distant and intimately recent. The lead investigator approached, his gaze sharp, assessing. The evidence is overwhelming. You didn't reply, just met his eyes. The politician's carefully constructed empire, built on a foundation of lies and shadowed dealings, now lay shattered, exposed beneath the harsh glare of your relentless pursuit. It was a testament to the fragile nature of deceit, a truth you had always known but had to fight tooth and nail to reveal. You knew they would regroup, adapt, but for now, a significant blow had been struck. A bitter taste rose in your throat, the cost. Your badge, once a symbol of your downfall, now felt like a weight you no longer carried, replaced by something less tangible, yet far more resilient, purpose. The redemption wasn't a sudden, blinding flash, but a slow, arduous climb, each step marked by doubt and defiance. The wind carried the faint scent of the river, a vast, indifferent body of water flowing beneath the bridge, mirroring the currents of change you had set in motion. Justice, you mused, was rarely a perfect, gleaming thing. It was often fragmented, incomplete, a mosaic pieced together with broken shards of truth. But a semblance of it, a crucial piece, now stood firm. A colleague, one who had watched your journey with a mix of skepticism and grudging respect, paused beside you. "What now, Thorne?" the question hung in the air. Not accusatory, but genuinely curious. You turned your gaze to the international bridge itself, its steel spine connecting two worlds, stretching into the unseen distance. The road ahead was uncertain, undefined. There would be no fanfare, no reinstated glory. Just the quiet satisfaction of a debt paid, a promise kept. You didn't know where it would lead, what new battles awaited, or what form your purpose would take. But for the first time in years, the path felt like your own, not one dictated by regret or failure. You took a deep breath, the cold air filling your lungs, sharp and clean. The future stretched before you, vast and unwritten, an open page. The tension remained, a subtle hum beneath the surface, a reminder that the world was still a dangerous place, and your fight, in some form, would continue. But you were ready. You turned from the scene, leaving the flashing lights and the lingering echoes of conflict behind, stepping towards the uncertain horizon.